I'm Brian Schmidt, your Vice-Chancellor, and we went out and on the 21st of April, we put out an offer to answer questions the best we can around Proctorio, which I know is concerning many of you. And as part of a continuing dialogue, and we'll continue doing this as long as we need to, as long as there are questions out there, we really want to make sure that we are as open and transparent as we can. As I fully understand and accept the fact that using new technology, we have to be very careful about what we do, be very upfront about what we do, and make sure that we do the best job we can under the trying situation that we find ourselves. So we received 19 emails with questions from students, and a lot of the emails contained similar questions, and I will answer all the questions. But where the question itself relates to the same theme, I'm only going to focus on the one example, if that's okay. So let's first start with privacy. We received a number of questions relating to matters of privacy, and indeed, privacy is not black and white, and we need to have a serious conversation about this, and I respect that. It is indeed the privacy restrictions are one of the reasons we've chosen Proctorio over other things. For example, another group of 8 has decided to administer exams by having individuals watch Zoom footage of students while they take exams. And that in many respects is much more invasive than anything that we're talking about, although it might seem more familiar to you. So Grace asked, with ANU's patchy history of cybersecurity, aren't you worried about forcing students to either install extremely invasive software on their devices or take exams months after their course finishes? So, firstly, I'm not forcing anyone to do anything. We have arranged for students to have a number of options to choose from. None of these are mandatory. And one thing people can do, if necessary, is sit an online exam using Proctorio. Many students, we think, will find that the most convenient. We can have people request to sit the exam from Schifley Library, where that fits their own personal circumstances. Or you can choose to defer sitting the exam until we can do it on campus through other means. So to use Proctorio, students will need to install a browser plugin that interacts with Waddle, the site you're all aware of, and the plugin is temporary. I don't see that as being particularly invasive, but it is different than what we are used to. Regarding our history with cybersecurity, the university has some of the best cybersecurity measures of any university, not just in Australia, but in the world. And we have been very open with the issues we have encountered, and we will continue to be so. We have worked closely with the Australian government security agencies over the past 18 months to harden our systems, and that level of transparency, and of course ANU is a particular target, we will continue to do the best we can. But it is certainly true that if a state actor especially wants to break into our systems, it is very difficult to absolutely stop them. But as I said, our systems are hardened to a point where I would say they're among the best of any university in the world. We continue to make a lot of progress in this front, and we will be investing further because, of course, the whole basis of internet security changes. I should also say these same state actors can use whatever device you are using right now to probably break in on you as well. So we have there's nothing black and white in this space, I'm sorry to say, but we will continue to be, as I would say, as far ahead of the curve as we can reasonably hope to be. Another student who asked to remain anonymous explained they share a workspace with their partner whose work is sensitive, so they're concerned about having a recording taken in that space. Another similar question related to the limitations of an individual's work computer in using the program. Well, these are very specific examples. Lots of people ask about not having suitable spaces in their home to take online exams. To address this, we have arranged, as mentioned earlier, for those who do not have a suitable space to submit a request to sit their exam in Schifley Library. For those not in Canberra, we are investigating options for students in regional and metropolitan centres to access alternative suitable spaces in accordance with health guidelines. We're still looking into this, and we'll have more information for you on this shortly. But as a matter of principle, we understand everyone has individual issues, and we are working to create bespoke solutions for everyone that are sensible and reasonable, and we will continue to do that as best we can. Next, Amelia asked about how long ANU will keep the data on file from Proctorio, and if ANU is opting for automated or live ID verification. So the first thing is we will delete all data once exams are finished and course results are finalized. The ID verification process will be similar to usual ID verification exams. You will present your photo ID, which will manually be verified by the examiner. Once the exam is finished and your result is finalized, the data will be deleted. Another emailer raised concerns about Proctorio not being required to adhere to Australian privacy laws. Okay, as you will be using Proctorio through Waddle, the data will be held in Australia. Therefore, it is subject to Australian law. ANU is legally bound by Australian laws, and we have published the 6 Australian privacy principles that we must adhere to, and against each of which we have outlined how we will meet those principles using Proctorio. The information is available on our website. Georgia asked for a definitive statement on what information Proctorio will and will not be collecting. Yes, absolutely. That's a reasonable request. We are looking to publish this shortly, and once it's published, I will tweet the link, and you may well have additional questions. We will continue to have a dialogue with you. Questions around technology, internet, and equipment. Most of these questions relate to internet availability, reliability, and speed. Students who have internet connectivity issues, noting I'm out here on a farm where I can tell you it's less than perfect, will be able to sit their exams at Chifley Library. One person who asked about this who lives in a rural area, and as I said, we are working on finding alternative computers for those outside Canberra in line with the public health requirements. We will continue to look for bespoke solutions for everyone who has a reasonable concern. Many people raise the speed of their internet being a possible hindrance to sitting their exam. So Proctorio has a low bandwidth requirement. It's 0.092 megabits per second. So that's well below ADSL 1 speeds. And it is applicable to most people. But again, for the exceptions, we will find solutions. Lots of other people pointed out that the use of the ANUSA Parse Emergency Fund should go to those who need it for essential items, and many others raised concern about it being able to afford new equipment. So ANUSA and Parse administer the Emergency Grant Fund, and they will determine how the money is disseminated. I don't want people to feel as though they're not entitled to support if they need it. So please contact ANUSA and Parse directly. With respect to items, again, we will let ANUSA and Parse make the decisions, and the university is highly invested in making sure that the emergency fund continues to be used by anyone who needs it. With respect to special requirements for exams, to be clear, anyone who needs special consideration or special arrangements for exams will have a bespoke solution developed for them. There have been no changes to the support services we provide at ANU. Any student who previously had or now has special needs for considerations in exams should contact the ANU Access and Inclusion Office. For the privacy of those with special needs who have raised their concerns through ANUSA and Disability Services, and I will not be reading them out here, I do encourage people who have issues, you contact Access and Inclusion, and we will endeavor to make arrangements to you, as we always do. This includes students who have increased caring or work pressures as a result of the COVID-19 pandemic. So with respect to questions around deferred exams and impact on course progression, As always, anyone can apply to defer an exam. The normal procedure applies, and for semester 1, 2020, impacts of the COVID-19 pandemic will be considered as an extenuating circumstance. For those due to graduate in July, deferred exams will delay the conferral of your degree. I'm sorry, but that's the way it has to be. For those of you doing prerequisite subjects and looking to defer their exam, please speak with your course convener for advice. I'm not going to go through every subject and its prerequisite here. It's just not simply doable. But exam deferral is a choice for the student. I recommend, if you have concerns, you speak with your course convener before making the decision around exam deferral. We're not trying to be mean. We're trying to be sensible and reasonable. We have 20,000 students, each who have different circumstances, and we need to cater to the broad range of people are there. One question relating to deferred exams was about the practice tests we're running for Proctorio. The question was, will the Proctorio practice test be done by students sitting deferred exams? No. The practice test will not count towards a student's grades. I had another question about how or if a deferred exam will affect the student's academic scholarship. Again, you will need to discuss that with your course convener and the administrator of your scholarship. If the scholarship is an ANU one, contact the scholarship's office. I can't give blanket advice. We can't answer the question specifically without knowing the details of your course or your scholarship. We will endeavor to be reasonable. Other questions. Will students be able to use the bathroom during the exam? Yes. Is the university aware eye tracking or facial recognition software has a demonstrated racial bias? So Proctorio doesn't use facial recognition software. That's not relevant in this case. If you have concerns or references or studies that demonstrate the racial bias of eye tracking itself, please send this to us and we will take that into account of anything we do. Will ANU top up the ANUSA PARSA Emergency Grant Fund? So thus far, we've provided $1 million to this fund, and we're continuing to work with ANUSA and PARSA about any future needs they may have. We're also working with the ACT government, the federal government, potential philanthropists, anything and everything. So my hope is we will try to make sure that we help everyone who needs it for as long as we can. That's the basics of what we're trying to do. Will the university consider fee refunds or discounts for students who are completing Proctorio exams? No. We're using Proctorio because we believe it best upholds our academic standards. Does the university plan to automatically fail students who are flagged as having suspicious behavior? No. The intention of the recording is that the examiner can review the student having taken their exam and then delete the recording. Of course, any student found to be cheating will be subject to disciplinary action. Will international students who have gone home be able to access Proctorio? Yes. We started looking to Proctorio at the beginning of the year when some of our students were unable to make it to campus to begin semester 1. It's one of the reasons we're looking at it. Will the university be able to confirm which courses will be using Proctorio before census date? We will ask all course conveners to consider if they will be using Proctorio and let their students know as soon as possible. So I'm not making an ironclad guarantee, but I think it is reasonable for that assessment to be made clear at the earliest possible moment. And so we will be asking our course conveners to be making a decision as soon as possible. What types of behaviors will be regarded as suspicious? My advice is to set your exam in the same way you normally was if it's in person. Don't look up answers, don't bring notes, don't Google things. You can go to the bathroom, you can take your time. Don't do things that are not okay, and those are the behaviors we're worried about. People doing things that are not acceptable and sitting in an exam. There's a set of questions around opposition to Proctorio and the university's response. I am troubled by suggestions that the university and I are not taking the students' concerns seriously. This is not true. I do worry about these things. I hear you, and that is why we have put together as much information as we have in response to your concerns. And we will continue to listen and address your concerns. But they have to be concerns that we, in our conversations, realize need to be addressed. Just because people have concerns that they don't like something, that is not sufficient. There has been some spread of misinformation within our community, and that creates anxiety, especially amongst some vulnerable other students. So it is good to ask questions. It is good to have a robust conversation, but it is not okay to do a disinformation campaign like what we see in political groups around the world. The reason that concerns me is that we are meant to be a place in society that shows people how to have robust conversations on evidence and truth. And in this highly fractured, polarized world dominated by populism, we should be a bastion of integrity, of actually sticking to arguments. And so that is why I am disappointed by some of the things I've seen. It goes against what we stand for as a university and undermines the value of the education I know we are all working hard to receive. The misinformation is having a detrimental effect on students who are already struggling with multiple stresses, including study and the impacts of pandemic. So I encourage us all to engage with the facts presented, continue to ask questions where you don't feel you have the answers or a reasonable answer, and we will in good faith, and I will in good faith, make sure that the university engages with you as best it can. We will be transparent, and we will continue to listen and address any reasonable set of concerns. So thank you very much for all the effort you've done into your questions, and I look forward to continuing to engage with you over the coming weeks. But mostly, this has been a really hard, disrupting time for everyone, including and especially our students. And the university is doing everything we can, we know it's not perfect, to be a trusted ally, to be transparent, and to make things as easy as possible. I will continue to let you know everything that I can possibly tell you, and we will work together, hopefully, to create the best possible solution and education program for you in what is far from ideal circumstances. Thank you, one and all. Have a good weekend, and good luck with your studies.